Boom! We are live. I hope. Hopefully this is coming through loud and clear. Hey, how is it going? Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, December the 3rd. Boom, boom. Into December already. Man, oh man. The countdown to Christmas. If you have kids at home, you know what I'm talking about. And that's what we're in the process of doing now. The countdown. Right? How many sleeps till Santa Claus comes, right? That's what we're looking for now, or that's what we're counting down. All right, so let's see if this is coming through loud and clear. I think it is. If you can hear me, if you can see me and all that, let me know by typing into our chat window and just say loud and clear. If it's coming through loud and clear, let me know there, and that would be much appreciated, because I always want to make sure that my audio and video and everything is working. Because I was doing a coaching call today with one of my coaching students, and lo and behold, the video, or not the video, the audio wouldn't work, and I had to mess around with the settings. So let's see, it's coming through loud and clear, loud and clear, loud and clear. Thank you, gentlemen, appreciate it. And we have the last fake natty joining us and offering some support right from the fist pump. There we go, my friend. Thank you for the support, much appreciated, and thanks for the fist bump. Gotta love it. Well, guys, the way these chats work, I know we got a lot of regulars tuning in, but I'm going to do my little introduction and tell you what this is all about. All right, my name is Lee Hayward, if you don't already know that, and I am a fitness and nutrition coach who's been at this stuff for a long time, and now I focus on helping men over 40 to build muscle, lose the gut, and get back in shape. So if you're a man over 40 who would like to build some muscle, lose the gut, and get back in shape, you're in the right place. Even if you're under 40, you're in the right place. Even if you're over 40, meaning like 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, you're still in the right place, right? It still works, right? I use the term over 40 because I'm over 40, and that's the kind of the demographic and the guys that I relate to the most. But the same principles and tactics apply to people of all ages. In fact, they even work better if you're younger. But the way these video chats work is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour-ish. I've got myself a piping hot cup of coffee right here. So when the coffee's gone, the chat is done. That's the way it works, right? That's like my timer right there. All right, I'm on a strict timer, as you can tell, right? When the coffee's gone, the chat's done. But it takes about an hour. That's how long I usually blabble on for. And I'm going to be hanging out here answering any questions or topics of discussion that you may have with relating to fitness, nutrition, building muscle, losing fat. If you have any questions about your workouts, any specific strategies that you want to talk about when it comes to building muscle and losing fat and training and diet and all that kind of jibber jabber, feel free to type that stuff into our chat window there, and I'll do the best I can to help you out over the course of our chat. And if I can't help you, then I'm not going to BS you. If I don't know the answer to something, then I will just totally tell you I don't know the answer. But I probably can share a few tidbits and insights because I've been doing this for over 30 years, so I've learned a thing or two along the way. So who do we have that's joining in that's new to the video chat? If you're brand new, you've never tuned into one of these before, type a letter N into the chat window there. Let us know, the big letter N, just to say, hey, I'm new. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. We want to celebrate all the new people who join the video chat. Welcome to the whole Total Fitness Bodybuilding family. All right? I always like to have new people joining in, as well as the regulars. So I'm going to jump right into it. We got people joining in, good stuff. Thumbs up. Way to go. There we go. And how do you like to drink your coffee? Let me know in the chat window. Do you drink your coffee with milk, with sugar, or do you take it black? I'm a black coffee man myself. I like the taste of the bean. I drink black coffee. And it's good. All right, we have Jerry joining in. We have Dan joining in. We've got Lee joining in. We've got the last fake natty is joining us. We have 13 DB, 13 dumbbell, I guess it is. We have Eagle-Eye John, Ido, Dario, Daniel. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome. Steamers joining in. Dante. Awesome, guys. Glad to have you joining in today. And the first question from Mr. Eagle-Eye John. Hi, Lee. On the T-bar rows, do you stand parallel to the floor or a bit more, or up a bit more, please? Okay. The T-bar row is a nice exercise because you don't have to bend over as far at the waist. to get the same contraction with your back. Like you can bend over at a 45-degree angle, and due to the angle of the T-bar row, you can actually still hit the major muscles that you're trying to work, your lats and your rhomboids and all the rowing muscles, without bending as far over at the waist. So that's a nice advantage of the T-bar row. So it's for people who have lower back issues, it's a good variation. Or if your lower back is just fatigue, maybe you did heavy deadlifts and you want to you still want to do some rows, but you want to give your lower back a little bit of a rest. The T-bar row is a nice variation because, again, you don't have to bend over as far at the waist as you would if you were doing like a barbell row. Because with the barbell row, in order to get the right angle, you've got to bend further over because the weight is coming straight up with the barbell row. With the T-bar, it's coming up on an arc. It's coming up in the angle. So that angle allows you to stand a bit more upright and still get a good contraction throughout the back. And then, of course, you have other T-bar row variations, like you have the chest-supported T-bar row, which is another nice one, which literally takes the lower back out of the movement and just allows you to have that strict rowing exercise. And I like both variations. I like the landmine variation of the T-bar row, which you stand up and straddle the bar and do your T-bar rows that way. But I also like the chest-supported one. And for that very reason, like sometimes if you want a really strict isolated row, the chest-supported one is a good variation to do. Or if your lower back is, whether you have a lower back injury and you want to, rest and take stress off that area, then the chest-supported one is nice. Or if your lower back is just really fatigued, like if you started with heavy deadlifts and your lower back is not feeling it, then you can do the chest-supported T-bar row and get a good back workout without excess stress to the lower back. But yeah, great question. Edo is joining us. I'm assuming that's how I pronounce your name. It's Edo. Edo. Joining in from Norway. Welcome to the chat. Dario is joining in and asking my thoughts on rice noodles. I don't eat many rice noodles, but go for it. If you enjoy rice noodles, and make it work. When it comes to all the different food choices out there, like you can have different variations. If you like rice, if you like rice noodles, or you like regular noodles or whatever, you can make it work, right? No food is really off limits. It's just, you got to think of the bigger picture and what it is that you're trying to achieve and adjust the portions and the food choices accordingly. When it comes to noodles in general, whether that's just pasta, spaghetti noodles, wheat noodles, rice noodles, whatever, they tend to be very calorie dense. Like as far as food goes, it's one of the more calorie dense sources of carbohydrates. So for someone who's trying to bulk up, which I don't really encourage, but let's just assume someone is trying to bulk up and get a lot of calories in, having calorie dense foods like noodles is a great way to do so, because you can eat a lot of noodles, i.e. a lot of pasta, get a lot of calories, and do so before your belly is full. Whereas if you eat higher volume foods, like let's just say sweet potatoes are very high in volume and you get full on them very quickly. So like I could put down a plate of sweet potatoes, like let's just say I put down 50 grams of carbohydrates from sweet potatoes or 50 grams of carbohydrates from noodles. There's a lot more volume in the sweet potato for the 50 grams of carbohydrates compared to the noodle. So if you're trying to get the most volume and the most eating satisfaction for the least amount of calories, then the higher volume foods tend to be better choices. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have noodles if you really like them, but if you're trying to follow a fat loss diet and you're like, I really need to satisfy my hunger, fill my belly, and leave the table feeling full and satiated without going over my calorie limit, then the higher volume foods are better options for that, because you get to eat more of them and feel like you're fuller and eating more and getting that eating satiation for the same amount of calories. So I tend to go for the higher volume foods because that's what I'm trying to do. I want to keep my calories low. I'm not trying to eat excess calories. I want to keep them in check. So I tend to err on the side of the higher volume foods. But from time to time, like if we're having my wife wants to make some spaghetti and meatballs or something like that, then I will certainly have noodles on occasion. And, sometimes we'll have the rice noodles or the other ones. The thing about rice noodles, for anybody who has gluten intolerance, then the rice noodle is a good option. Because for those of you who are wondering, all the gluten, gluten is simply wheat protein. So if you have non-wheat variations, like non-wheat pasta, i.e. rice pasta, then that's a gluten-free alternative. So for anyone who is gluten sensitive, the rice variation is better for that. So there, that's my lesson of the day on rice noodles. Moving on. Daniel's joining in. He says, "You're an inspiration, Lee." Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it. Much appreciated. I try my best, right? Steamer is joining in. "Is it possible to gain some strength on a slight deficit? I'm trying to improve my body composition without losing all my strength." It's a fine line. It really is. Now, is it possible? Yes, it is possible, but you got to look at the bigger picture of where you're coming from, your past experience, and all that kind of stuff. And I'll give you some different scenarios so you can make sense of all this. If you take somebody who hasn't been going to the gym, hasn't been eating correctly, and they're just kind of like starting off from scratch, whether they're starting again, meaning they've been on and off for however many years, like this, when I'm coaching the over 40 guys, most of them have been on and off. And this is the typical scenario of people that I coach who are within the muscle after 40 blueprint. Is they probably started working out in their teens or in their 20s or maybe even in their 30s, but they started working out when they were younger, and they were on and off, and probably made some really good progress back in the day. But then life gets in the way, right? They get busy with their career. They get married. They have kids. They have responsibilities. And now all of a sudden their priorities get pushed down the drain, like well, not down the drain, so to speak. And well, in some cases they probably do get pushed down the drain, but they get pushed down the list. And then the priorities of the family and the work and the career and all that stuff gets pushed higher. So they're spending all their time working to put food on the table and a roof over the head. They're spending all their time taking care of the kids and taking care of everybody else, and their own health and fitness gets pushed down the list, down the priorities. And then all of a sudden they realize, oh my God, I'm 50 pounds overweight. I got high blood pressure. I'm pre-diabetic. I got high cholesterol. Shit, I need to do something. Like, that's the typical scenario. So if somebody's in that scenario, then simply getting on a sound nutrition program with a slight calorie deficit, getting on a sound exercise program where you're doing some strength training, some cardio training, and mobility work, and you get yourself back in shape, absolutely, you can gain strength, build lean muscle while in a deficit, because you're starting from ground zero at that stage. Now, if we take someone who's already been training hard and heavy, like you take the younger guys who's coming off of bulk, right? Like, hey, he's been training for years and he's been slamming back a calorie surplus to try and get bigger and stronger. But in the process, he's put on a few extra pounds of belly fat, and now he wants to trim down. But he's been in the gym consistently day in, day out for years, right? And he's got a good solid foundation and he's been super consistent. If he starts cutting back on these calories, his strength is going to go down, because he's so used to training with a calorie surplus and all that fuel in his system. Now, all of a sudden, when he cuts back on those calories, he's going to feel like there's going to be less glycogen in his system. There's going to be less water retention. And because of that, your strength is going to go down. So like your 1 rep max bench, when you switch from your bulk to your cut, is going to go down, right? Your max lifts are going to go down, and you will see that. But once you settle into this new calorie intake and this new approach, and your body kind of adapts to it, then you might actually start to make some strength gains again. But in that initial transition, you're going to see, it's almost like letting a bit of air out of the balloon, right? You're not going to feel as full. You're not going to feel as strong, and you are going to lose a little bit of strength in the process. But the good side of it is you'll probably actually increase your stamina, because as you drop a few pounds of extra blubber and as you start eating better, you won't feel as heavy, as bloated, and as sluggish. Now, sometimes being heavy, bloated, and can actually help with your pure raw strength in terms of like your 1 rep max power strength. But once you get that out of your system, then your stamina, your ability to do cardio, or your ability to do exercises for reps, like your push-ups and your pull-ups and repetition work, will probably go up. So again, this whole idea, like gaining strength or losing strength, when you go into a calorie deficit, it depends on the situation. It depends on you, your situation, and everything else. And that's why I don't like to give these cookie cutter one-size-fits-all answers. And like a lot of people do that. Like they say, oh, you can't gain muscle and lose fat at the same time, or you have to do this, or you have to do that, or this doesn't work and that only works. And it really depends on the situation. Like I just told you, I mean, in the someone who's coming back after a layoff, absolutely, you can get stronger in a calorie deficit. You can gain muscle in a calorie deficit. But someone who's already a seasoned gym veteran, right? You're in there training, in the off-season bulk phase, if you will. You're going to see the strength go down once you switch to a calorie deficit versus the strength that you had when you were in calorie surplus. So there. Hopefully that answers it. And with all these questions, like I know I'm throwing out a lot of stuff here, and it's even though it's kind of a two-way conversation because you're chatting with me through the chat window there, it's really a one-way conversation because I'm just the talking head here on the other side of the camera. If you do have any other questions or feedback that you would like to ask me personally, feel free to reach out to me, right? You can friend me up over on Facebook and chat with me over there, or you can send me an email, and I got all my information in the video description below. Be more than happy to chat about this, offline if you want to, or off the live video. It's still online, but off video if you want. If you have any other questions and you need some further clarification, feel free to reach out. Moving on, we've got Dante is new to the video chat. Welcome, Dante. Glad to have you joining in. Daniel's new to the chat as well. Welcome, Daniel. Glad to have you joining in as well. And Eagle Eye John says he drinks coffee all day with semi-skimmed milk and 1 sugar. All right, I'm going to give you a little bit of coaching here. If you're trying to lose some fat, swap the sugar for stevia or some other 0-calorie sweetener, and just go with the fat-free milk. Like, boom, I just saved you some calories. Now, in and of itself, like it's not a lot, but when compounded over multiple coffees per day and over the course of a year, like that could be several pounds of body fat just from that alone. Like all these little tiny tweaks can make a major difference. Like the sugar you have in your coffee. I mean, if you're drinking multiple coffees per day, you say you're drinking it all day. I don't drink the shit all day, man. If I drank coffee all day, I'd be wired out of my freaking head. Like I drink 2, 3 max. That's I have one in the morning, and then I usually have another one pre-workout, and like that's it. If I'm really trying to get shit done, I might have a third, but that's it. That's my max, right? So I'm not an all-day coffee drinker. I mean, I know some people their coffee consumption is in the double digits, and I'm like, I can't see how they make that work. But there, I just gave you a little fat loss trick that would. It's not even giving up the coffee or anything. It's just making better choices. Like swap sugar for stevia. It's still sweet. You won't notice the difference. And you just saved yourself a ton of calories over the course of the long term, that is. And then same thing with the fat-free milk versus the semi-fat milk. There. That's something in my eye. All right. And this applies for a lot of stuff. Like even, simple, like swap regular soda for diet soda. Right? Or other 0-calorie drinks. Like you should not be drinking your calories, right? That's just empty calories that you do not need. You can get away with the 0-calorie drinks and come out much further ahead when it comes to helping to aid with fat burning. We got AT, and he drinks his coffee black. Good man. And the last fake natty drinks black coffee. There we go. Let's see what else we got there. Lazar says, hello from Serbia. Welcome. How are things in Serbia these days? I've never been there, so I have no idea. But welcome. Nice to have people from all over the world joining in. We have Craig Machine 20. Hi, Lee. I've been following you since 2005 or 2006. It's my first time on your live chat. I'm finally at the point I hate my body and want to do something with it. Well, Craig Machine 20, welcome. I mean, hey, you've been following my stuff for a long, 15, 20, 16 years-ish, right? Since the beginning of YouTube. Like, YouTube started around 2006, and that's when I posted my first video on YouTube, which wasn't that great. None of them were great back then. But, man, you've been following since back then. Wow. Welcome. Glad to have you joining in, and you say you're at the point now where you want to do something with it. You want to get your ass back in shape. So I guess you can relate to what I talked about earlier when I said, you worked out back in the day, but now career, family, responsibilities, life gets in the way, your priorities, your gym time gets pushed down, bottom of the barrel. And now it's like, oh shit, right? 50 pounds overweight, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, pre-diabetic. Doctor says, you got to do something, dude. You're getting fat and unhealthy. You got to make a change. if you need some help, my friend, feel free to reach out. I've got some resources for you. In fact, I tell you what, the best thing to do right now, and you don't even need to wait, open up the video description below. I've got a free ebook download. It's called Ripped After 40, and it outlines the plan, the action plan that I followed to get myself from the dad bod, fat over, out of shape dad bod, to getting back in shape after 40. And it's a free download. You can get it right in the video description below this video, or you can head on over to my website, leehayward.com. You can download it from there as well. It's called Ripped After 40, free PDF download, 50-something pages long, goes into detail and really covers the bigger picture of like how to achieve a sustainable fitness and fat loss transformation without feeling like you're suffering it out on a diet. Because that's the kicker to all this. Like anyone can go on a diet. Like you can go cut your carbs, you can go starve yourself, you can go keto, you can do all that stuff, and you might drop a shit ton of weight in a short period of time. But like, who wants to live like that for the rest of their life? And if you go on a diet, and diet by nature is temporary, right? Like the way most people diet, it's temporary. Like I'm going to go on a diet for the next, 30 days, 12 weeks, whatever. I'm going to go on a diet. But the problem with the diet is as soon as you stop the diet, you go back to where you were before. You go back to the old habits and regain the weight back again, and you're back to square one. This is yo-yo, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I did it for years, right? Back when I was competing in bodybuilding, I did this every single competition, right? I would put on the blinders. I would go on the low-carb diet. I'd be eating boiled chicken and broccoli, doing 2 hours of cardio a day, 6 days a week in the gym, suffering it out, burning the candle at both ends. Yes, it works while you're doing that, right? I mean, I would get in shape and sometimes place reasonably well. I mean, I've actually won at the provincial level, won the overall title. And in 2007, I won the overall title as a light heavyweight and at the Newfoundland Provincial Championships. That was my best placing, the only overall title that I actually won in bodybuilding. But I did that for 16 years, up and down, these crazy hardcore cutting diets. But the thing is as soon as the diet was over, meaning as soon as the contest, because that's what I was always dieting for, is dieting for a bodybuilding contest. So as soon as the contest was over and the placings were announced and the photos were taken and the pressure was off, then it was like, where's the all-you-can-eat buffet? Where's the pizza shop? Where's the bakery? Where's the ice cream place? I'd go back to my old habits, eat all the crap that I was craving while I was starving myself, trying to cut for competition. And then within a few weeks, I'd have all the weight gained back again. It took me months to lose it, only a few weeks to gain it all back. And then here I was, all fat and bloated, and then trying to justify it by telling everybody that I'm bulking up because it's the off season. And that's the God's honest truth. That's the dirty little secret of bodybuilding is, yeah, you can starve yourself and suffer it out in the short term, but it's not enjoyable and it's not sustainable. And as soon as you ease off that pressure, as soon as you run out of willpower and you can't do it anymore because you're sick and tired of starving and suffering it out, then you go back to your old habits and you gain the weight back. What we need to do is we need to change those habits to begin with and do so with a sustainable system that you actually enjoy. And something that's not extreme. It's just little small baby decisions, little small baby steps in the right direction. And it's almost like reprogramming your compass to make better habit choices without feeling like you're depriving yourself. And this is where I keep coming back to saying being good enough, but good enough consistently. Right? Not this all or nothing extreme starvation approach. It's just good enough, but good enough consistently, and do so over the long term. So you slowly trim off the body fat, but you do so without feeling like you're depriving yourself or feeling like you're suffering in the process. And if you enjoy it, then it's sustainable. If you don't enjoy it, regardless of how good the results are, it's not sustainable. So that's the cool thing about this whole system that we have in place now, like the Muscle After 40 blueprint. And that's what I share in that Ripped After 40 ebook that you can download. It's a sustainable and enjoyable system. And the guys who go through it, they're like, holy shit, why didn't I think of this before? Like this is a nice way to live and eat and enjoy myself. I mean, I still get to have, my cravings satisfied, but I do so with smarter choices and smaller portions and just kind of keep it under control. But I'm doing enough good things to tip the scale in favor of progress versus bad things to pull me in the wrong direction. And over time, you actually make progress, but the progress you make is the progress you keep. So even though it's slower progress, it's not the crash diet, lose 30 pounds in 30 days type of crap, but it's lose 30 pounds over the course of, say, 6 months, but keep those 30 pounds off versus lose 30 pounds in 30 days. And then in 6 months later, you've got, 40 pounds put back on. Like, that doesn't serve anybody, to crash diet, lose a bunch of weight, and then put it all back on, usually a few pounds more. So the approach we have now is a very slow, sustainable approach, but one that you can enjoy and live the rest of your life doing, because it's not a diet. It's just lifestyle changes, and it's just tweaking, the variables within your program and within your nutrition so that you enjoy the process without feeling like you're on a freaking diet to begin with. And it's been a game changer for me. Like, that's what's allowed me to get lean, stay lean, and do so without feeling like I'm on a diet. So, Mr. Craig, if you want some help with that, download that ebook. It'll be well worth it. All right, what else we got there? We have Jake joining in. Jake says, in 30 years of training, have you ever experienced any lower back issues or injuries? If so, how long did it take you to rehab and get back to 100%? Knock on some wood. I haven't had any serious lower back injuries, like no herniated discs or any major injuries. I've had muscle soreness, and I've had it where I overtrained myself, where I pulled too heavy a deadlift and, oh shit, my back is hurting, like that type of thing. But something that usually within a week or two, it eases up on its own. Like, there was never any serious injuries, thankfully. And usually how I've gotten those tweaks, I'll refer to them as tweaks, because that's all it is. It's like muscle tweaks or pulls or strains. Too heavy a deadlift, too heavy a squat, or something like that. Something where you're either loading the spine or you're doing some sort of pull, right? Like, sometimes I've hurt my lower back with just too much weight on a squat, right? Or poor form. And, just a compression causes some back issues. But very often it's usually from, too heavy a deadlifts. And sometimes it's even stupid stuff. I remember, this was a few years back, good few years back. I was clipping my toenails, and I bent over to clip my toenails. And as I was doing so, I was like, there goes the lower back. Like, I just threw my back out when I bent over to clip my toenails. So sometimes you can do the most stupidest thing and throw the back out, like whether you impinge a nerve or something like that. But thankfully, in my case, I've never had any like serious major injuries that have like required surgery or anything like that. It's just like minor tweaks and pulls, and usually within a week or two, they heal up on their own. But that's my personal experience with it. Be interested to know what your issue is. I mean, if you want to, feel free to elaborate on that down in the chat window. We have Lee Dunnigan. Where is he? Is carnitine worth supplementing with? I'm 45 years old, and I've never tasted coffee in my life. You're 45 years old, and you've never had a coffee. Well, that's it. We can't be friends anymore. That's it. I can't believe that. Never had a coffee. Wow. Isn't that a rite of passage? I don't know. You must. Well, you're from the UK. You must drink tea. That's what it is. You're a tea drinker. That explains everything, right? Spot of tea for you, not a pot of coffee. As far as your question, carnitine. Is it worth supplementing with? It's one of those supplements. I mean, if you want to take it, you certainly can. I mean, it's not a must-have. Put it this way. By no means is carnitine a must-have supplement. I've personally used it before, and I got to say, I didn't really notice any major benefits from it. So I don't take it personally. I have gone through it, taken it and tried it and this and that. And it wasn't one of these supplements that I felt had any major benefits. Like, it wasn't something that you could really feel working or get some noticeable feedback from. And it's not like an essential nutrient that you need, right? So it's not a must-have by any stretch of the imagination. So I personally do not use carnitine. Seeing we're on that topic, I'll just throw this out there. Like, as far as some must-have supplements, well, there are no must-have supplements. There's really, the only must-have is sound nutrition. If you focus on good quality protein, your fruits and veggies, your healthy fats, and just sound, consistent nutrition, drinking lots of water, like that's the must-have, right? You need to have that in place. That's the foundation. Supplements are just, the icing on the cake. It's like a little insurance policy to make sure that you're meeting all your nutritional needs. That's all supplements are. So if you are looking for some recommended supplements, here are some common deficiencies that a lot of people have, and the ones that I take these personally, and I would recommend that you look into them as well. Magnesium, zinc, the B vitamins. So I usually take a B vitamin complex, vitamin D3, so magnesium, zinc, the B vitamins, D3, and omega-3s. All right, omega-3 fatty acids. Those are the ones that I consider, again, it's not must-have, but it's highly recommended. Put it that way. They're good ones because they're common deficiencies for a lot of people, and these are good ones to make sure that you have all your bases covered. Now, other supplements that I take as well, protein powder, and that's more or less just as a, I don't even consider it a supplement. I just consider it another source of protein food, right? I mean, I can have chicken, I can have fish, I can have eggs, I can have dairy, or I can have some protein powder. And very often the way I have my protein powder is I'm not a big fan of drinking shakes, but I like to use it in recipes. So like I'll make up like my high protein ice cream recipe, or I'll make up high protein oatmeal, or high protein pancakes, or something like that. You know, different types of recipes where I'll use the protein powder there. And that's the way I usually have it. In fact, before I got on this video chat, I had a high protein blender ice cream, which is you mix up, in my case, I mix up liquid egg whites, protein powder, and I put in frozen strawberries, and I blended it up so it was so thick that I could eat it with a spoon. And that is like, you know, it tasted like a vanilla strawberry ice cream because I had the vanilla protein powder and the frozen strawberries blended up really nice and thick. So it had that vanilla strawberry taste, and that satisfied my sweet tooth craving for ice cream. But it's almost pure protein, very low in carbs, very low in fat, and super healthy. So these are strategies that I use to stay full, enjoy the process, and stay lean in the process. So that was what I actually had for before I got on this chat. So that's where was it? Yeah, protein powder. That's another supplement if you want to consider it a supplement that I recommend. And another one that I have as a backup is greens powder. Greens powder. So with this, the greens powder is a way to supplement your vegetables, just like protein powder is a way to supplement your protein. So I always recommend, ideally, with every meal, you should sit down and start with protein and veggies. Protein and veggies is the foundation for every meal. If I can't get solid food protein, I'm going to have protein powder. If I can't have solid food veggies, I'll have greens powder. So that's a supplemental way to ensure that I'm getting my protein and veggies with each meal. But those are the recommended supplements that I would that I take personally, and I would encourage you to look into taking as well. But focus on the nutrition first. That's the foundation. The supplements, again, are the icing on the cake. All right, moving on. That's what is missing when I can increase weights but no more muscle gain. I'm training to failure and a good diet. That's from AT. What's missing when I can increase weight but no more muscle gain? I'd really need to know more detail about that, because that's like how long and like what kind of time frame are we looking at here, and how much have you increased the weight versus how little muscle have you gained? Because when it comes to progress in the gym, you will see your strength increase faster than you will see your physique change. So like your bench press is going to go up before your chest is going to be visibly bigger and more muscular. Your squat is going to go up before your legs look bigger and more muscular. And your curls are going to go up before your biceps have bigger peaks. Like, you'll see the strength gains before the physical changes. This is common for everybody, right? And when it comes to strength, there's multiple variables in place. Like, sometimes you can increase strength just because you're improving your lifting technique. Sometimes you can increase strength because you're improving your efficiency and your ability to generate force and power on demand. Like, a trained athlete can focus and muster up their strength when they need it. Whereas the average Joe who's untrained, they go pick up a bag of groceries and they're like, oh, that's too heavy, right? You know, they can't muster up the strength when they need it. Whereas if you look at like a weightlifter or a power lifter or a strongman or an athlete who performs on cue, they have the ability to focus and generate maximum power when they need it. The average person hasn't built that skill because they haven't trained for it. So there's a lot of variables that come into strength. So like, yes, you can see your strength go up before you see the physical changes happening in your body. But if you continue making the strength gains and you continue with the consistency, the physical changes will happen. But there's always a lag time. It's not, hey, I put 5 pounds on my bench and I put an inch on my chest. No, it doesn't happen instantaneously like that. right? The strength comes first. The physical changes come after. And who else we got there? Craig Machine says he drinks his coffee black. Cheers. We have a man from Earth. I hope we all are from Earth. At least most of us anyway, right? I don't know. It might be like the old movie Men in Black. Remember that one, right? We were surrounded by aliens and we really don't know it. That may or may not be true. I have no idea. But apparently we have a man from Earth. That's his username. Says, Lee, if I deadlift or I squat after MMA training, I almost faint. Is it dehydration or is it because I'm new at MMA and still not ready? Any advice on training and work stress? Many thanks. All right. I'm going to read that again. If I deadlift or squat after MMA training, I almost faint. Is it dehydration or because I'm new at MMA? You're probably new at MMA, and MMA, mixed martial arts, for anybody who doesn't know what MMA stands for, is intense. It's freaking intense. I know because I've done it before. Not like competitively, but I've done it in training. Like I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I did some boxing training. I did martial arts when I was younger, and I did some MMA training as well. And it's freaking intense. It's a very intense workout. It stresses, like you're stressing all your energy systems, right? You're stressing your muscular endurance. You're stressing your lactic acid system. And I mean, if you're doing any throws or takedowns or heavy stuff, you're stressing your maximum strength. So, I mean, you're hitting, like, you're basically draining the shit out of your body. It's very taxing, very exhausting. You're trying to do squats and deadlifts after that taxing workout. The reason why you're fainting is you're just physically exhausted. It's too freaking much. What I would recommend is that you space out your weight training and your MMA workouts on different days. Like, don't try and do this super workout or, hey, I'm going to go roll on the mat for 2 hours and then I'm going to go lift in the gym for 2 hours. And then, hey, why, for the hell of it, let's go run a marathon afterwards, right? Like, no, you can't do it all in one. You're just exhausting yourself. And dehydration could be part of the problem as well, right? Just low blood sugar, running out of glycogen in your system. I mean, that could be part of the problem, but it sounds like you're trying to do too much. So, like, I would never go do an MMA workout and then say, hey, guys, let's go do a squat workout afterwards. Like, no. Right? It's just too much. And I think that's the problem. So you want to space those two out, right? Do your MMA, have a day of rest, then do your weight training, like space it out because you only have limited amounts of recovery. It's not like we've got 100% recovery for MMA and we've got 100% recovery for weight training and we got 100% recovery for running a marathon and 100% recovery for whatever else you're doing. Is that you've got 100% total. So if 50% of that's gone to MMA, then you've only got 50% left for weight training. Like, it's not like you have 100% for everything. So you have to space it out and like plan your training accordingly. And like, what's your priority? If MMA is the priority right now, then focus on that and then scale back the weight training accordingly. Or if weight training is a priority, then focus on that and scale back the MMA accordingly. Like, or if both are a priority, then you got to balance them out, right? Like, you can't go all out in both. Like, you can't go to the gym 6 days a week and bust your ass in the weight training and then go 6 days a week to the MMA gym and bust your ass there as well. Like, you can't do it. You just don't have the stamina, the endurance, or whatever. You're going to burn yourself out, right? So you'll make better progress and won't faint if you allow for adequate rest and recovery in between those workouts. All right, moving on. Feels like I got something in my eye again. I don't know if I do or it's just an eyelash or what. All right, moving on. We have Mr. Logical Order. Very logical. It says, for someone who wants to be proficient at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and keep working out efficiently, does 3 days lifting and 3 days of BJJ sound good? Did I just answer this? I mean, I think I did. I'm 23 years old. I'm 162 pounds and 12 to 14% body fat. Rewind. Listen to the previous question. I just covered it. Right? You can do both, but you have to factor in the recovery. And unless you're in super good shape now, like 3 days of lifting and 3 days of jiu-jitsu, like those are 6 intense days, right? I would recommend having some active recovery days in between there. Like, and it depends on what your priority is. Like, is your main goal the jiu-jitsu? If it is, then obviously prioritize that and then like scale back a bit on the weight training. If the main goal is the weight training, then scale a bit back on the jiu-jitsu, or adjust the intensity accordingly. Like, go in there and give yourself permission to do some easier workouts, like easier days rolling on the mat. Maybe you're just working on some drills and technique work and you're not like going flat out. And then with the workouts, then maybe go in there and do some active recovery and some mobility work on some of those days. But like, you can't go in there and like 100% intensity weight training 3 days, 100% intensity jiu-jitsu 3 days. Like, you're not going to recover from it. This is something like even seasoned athletes, like they have ways of structuring their training where they go through phases where they push the limits, and then there's phases where they back off the training. And then they'll have like high intensity days and then active recovery days. Like, nobody can go pedal to the metal all the time, right? If you try to do that, you're only going to do it for a few weeks before you want to get burnt out or you get injured or something goes wrong. Like, nobody can go pedal to the metal all the time. Just the same as you can't drive in your car and go pedal to the metal all the time. Like, if you pull out of your driveway and you put your foot to the floor and say, I'm going to keep the foot to the floor and see how far I get, like, you're going to crash by the time you get to the end of the street because you won't make the turn. Like, you have to learn when to go and when to ease off. And the same applies with your training, right? You can't just go flat out all the time. You have to have times when you push yourself. Yeah. But then there's other times when you got to scale it back and factor in phases of active recovery, phases of deload in order to let your body rest, recover, and grow. Moving on. We have Valentine Franklin says, Lee Hayward, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. I don't know if I'm a legend or not, but I've been around for a while. What else we got there? Moving on. Danish says, Lee, I have been having lower back pain on the right side, and today I was at the gym, and while doing the leg press, I heard a crack. Oh, shit. While doing it. I don't know what to do. All right. You heard a crack. Hopefully it's just like, something popped or cracked, meaning like you cracked your knuckles type of pop or crack. Like, sometimes that happens. But if you're in pain, get it checked out. Like, this is my rule of thumb anytime. Like, if in doubt, get it checked out. Like, don't at least clarify it and make sure that there's no damage. Now, if you're not in agony and you're like, hey, for some reason my back cracked, right? Like, that's normal because you got all the bones of your spine and everything else. Sometimes when the bones rub together and move in certain ways, or they might pop a little bit. Again, it's just like popping your knuckles. Sometimes your shoulders or your elbows might pop or click a little bit. I mean, it may not be anything serious, but if it hurts, and like, your body's really good at this. Like, if something's not right, it hurts. And if it hurts, don't ignore it. Go get it checked out. That's what I would recommend. But if you feel reasonably okay, like, I mean, you may have a bit of lower back stiffness or something like that, it may just ease up on its own. But whatever you do, be very cautious in what you're doing as far as exercise for the next couple weeks. Like, I would not be doing any heavy rows or squats or deadlifts or anything that's going to place any stress on that lower back. Like, I would literally be going through the motions for the next couple weeks. I wouldn't even do high impact cardio. I would do low intensity, low impact cardio, and just go through the motions with your exercises. Like, easy stuff. No rep into failure. None of this stuff. No 1 rep maxes and none of that. Just go through the motions. And then as you feel good, like after you've gone through like a week of training like that, then if you're feeling good, then start to gradually increase the weights and the intensity and build yourself back up. But with this phase, like where you're feeling a bit like you got a bit of back pain and everything else, but there's not an injury. That's the critical phase. Like, that's the danger zone. Like, I see it a lot of times. Like, some people might go into the gym and they strain themselves a little bit, but it's not that bad. It's not a full-on injury, but it's just a minor strain or a minor pull. And then they go in and they still try to train normally when they've just had this minor strain or minor pull. And then they end up taking that minor pull and turning it into a major injury. Like, that's so common. I've seen that over and over again. Like, guys doing a bench press and like, felt a little twinge in my chest, shoulder area, right? Didn't feel good, right? And then you see them in there like a week later. Oh, I got to test my 1 rep max. And then next thing you know, they tore their pec, right? Because obviously the muscles and everything else are not fully recovered. You're not firing at 100%. And then if you're not firing at 100% and then you go out there and you give it 100%, something's got to give. So when you're in these phases of you're not 100%, don't push yourself 100% in the gym. Like, go easy and really take it, take it slow, because this is the critical phase where you could take that minor little pull and turn it into a full-blown injury, and you certainly don't want to have that. So be careful. And I always say this, and I'm going to repeat it again. The only thing that's going to slow you down when it comes to your training is getting an injury. Like, if you skip a workout, like, okay, big deal. You can always work out again the next day, but like a skipped workout is not going to slow your progress. If you go in and do an easy workout, big deal. Like, it's not going to hinder your progress, because again, you can always pick up the intensity later. But if you go in there and you do too much too soon and you get injured, you pull something, tear something, snap your shit up, as they say, you do something bad, that's setting you back, because an injury could take weeks, it could take months, it could take years, or sometimes it may never fully recover. Like, you may have an injury that could haunt you for the rest of your life. And I've seen that. I've even dealt with it. So you want to be careful. Like, injury prevention that's the number one thing. And unfortunately, most people don't learn that lesson until they've had a serious injury. And I'm guilty of that myself. Because, I mean, when I was younger, I always thought, hey, I might get a minor pull or strain here and there, but I didn't think a major injury was going to happen to me. Like, that's something that happens to somebody else, until it happened to me. And then I realized, oh, I'm not invincible, right? I'm not bulletproof. So you got to be careful when it comes to that. Let's see what else we have. Keith is saying, salute Coach Lee in chat. There you go. Salute. What else we got? Craig Machine is saying he has 2 wives, 3 kids later, and a sweet librarian body. There we go. 2 wives. I hope they're not simultaneous. One's enough. You can have 3 kids simultaneously, but 2 wives simultaneously, that's a bit much. Even though there's some cultures, though, they have, like, the guys have multiple wives, right? In certain... I mean, I couldn't imagine that. I mean, heck, 1 wife's enough to drive any man nuts. Can you imagine having 2 or more? Anyway, moving on. He downloaded the ebook. Good for you. That will be... there's a lot of valuable information there, my friend. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Keith James says, smash the like button. Thank you. All right. Take Mr. Keith James' advice and smash the like button. So for those of you who are watching this right now, if you are enjoying the video chat, smash the like button. Let's see how many likes we can get. There's 14 right now. 14 likes. Can I get a 15? I'm not... Oh, I got a 15. There we go. Let's see. Can I get a 16? You going to get a 16? 16. There we go. We got 30 people. I wonder if we can get 30 likes. 17. Wow, they're going up. Imagine you could make money as fast as you can make likes. Oh, 18. There we go. 18. Oh, there we go. Can I get a 19? Let's see if is there 19 in there? If anybody's watching this and you haven't hit the like button yet, just there, 19. There we go. Good. Wow. Amazing. Oh, 20. Shit, we're going. All right, I better answer some more questions. What else we got there? Logical order. Did I already answer that one? I'm not sure. Maybe. You haven't had any major back problems because you're in shape and you exercise, and exercise saves lives. Okay, well, that certainly helps. Yep. And there's some truth to that for sure, because a lot of times you talk to people who have back problems, it's because they're not in shape, and it's because they're out of shape, their back is so susceptible to injury. Like, they bend over to pick up their groceries and they throw their back out, or it's wintertime and they go and they got to shovel their driveway, and next thing you know, they throw their back out because they're so deconditioned and out of shape that anything outside their normal sedentary lifestyle is enough to strain them to the point of injury. So yeah, absolutely, keeping yourself in decent shape helps to prevent those types of nuisance injuries. But then you have the type of injuries that come from people who are pushing themselves too much when they're in the gym, and trying to lift more than they can and pushing themselves beyond their means. And then you have those type of injuries as well. Soul Shock is joining us, and he says, I'm having trouble trying to build strength for my bench press. Any tips or suggestions? Yep, there's a lot, right? There's a lot. I mean, obviously we could focus on improving your bench press technique. But this is a simple little tip that I'm going to share with you. And it's kind of a generic one, because obviously when it comes to any of these questions, I really need to know more about you, your situation, your training experience, and all that kind of stuff. But if you've been consistently pushing the bench press hard and trying to increase your bench press, like week after week after week, you're going in the gym and you're doing the bench press and it's not going up, and you're just feels like you're banging your head against the wall. Like I'm pushing it, not happening. Scrap the bench press for a little while and focus on some other exercises instead. So let's maybe for the next few weeks, we're going to do dumbbell bench press, or maybe we're going to focus on the incline bench press, or maybe we're going to focus on getting stronger with push-ups or dips or some other exercises instead. But like, stop doing the bench press, right? If you're stuck in a plateau, and this could apply for any exercise, you can insert squat, deadlift, anything. Like, stop doing the exercise you're stuck at and start doing another variation instead. So one that's I find worked really well for me, dumbbell bench. I always found if my dumbbell bench was going up, then that would carry over and make my barbell bench go up as well. So like, lay off the barbell bench for the next month or so. Like, literally just don't bother doing it and just go prioritize the dumbbell bench press. Now, if you're not used to doing that exercise, what you could do is like just start off light and build yourself up week by week gradually with the dumbbell bench press, getting used to it, focusing on your technique and getting stronger week by week with that. And then once you start to hit a plateau with that, then you can probably go back to the barbell bench press and you might hit a new personal best that way. Excuse me. Just a second. I got to wet my whistle here for a second. I'm just going to share this with you because this is a good point where you just brought up there. The way it works with most exercises is when you start doing an exercise week after week after week and you're really pushing it, you're going to get to the point where you start to plateau. So like, let's just say the first time you do the exercise, you're still learning the technique and you're getting the rhythm and all that down. But then once you've got that mastered, then you're starting to make some strength gains. And then eventually you get to the point where those strength gains plateau. So depending on your level of experience and everything else, this could be, a few weeks or it could be a few months. But eventually everybody's going to hit a plateau, right? That's inevitable. Once you hit the plateau, that's a good time to either change up the exercise variation or even change up the set and rep pattern, but you want to have some sort of change to provide some unique muscle stimulation. So let's just say we're going to change up the exercise, right? The bench press isn't working, you switch out for another variation, the dumbbell. Or if the deadlift isn't working, then maybe we're going to swap that out, and instead of focusing on, the conventional deadlifts, we're going to focus on sumo deadlifts, or we're going to do power rack lockouts, or we're going to do Romanian deadlifts, or something else. Good mornings, right? We'll focus on another exercise variation instead that still works the same muscle groups, but does so with a different exercise, different movement pattern. And then you go through the whole learning curve with that new exercise. So the first week, you're just getting into the groove of it. The next week, you're going to make some progress. And then each week thereafter, you start making some progress with that new exercise until eventually that one plateaus, right? And then you hit a ceiling with that. Then you do another different exercise variation. Go through the whole process again. And let's just say you have 3 or 4 different exercises lined up, like major exercises. So for chest, it could be flat barbell bench, could be dumbbell bench, could be incline bench, and it could be dips, right? For example, those are your exercises. Well, once the bench press plateaus, then you go to the dumbbell bench. Once the dumbbell bench plateaus, then you go to the incline bench. Once the incline bench plateaus, then you go to the dips. Then you could come back to the bench press. And this whole process could take several months, but like, seriously, you're doing it anyway, right? You come back, and then when you start doing the bench press, it's like a brand new exercise. Now your body's going to respond to it like it's fresh. So the first week, you're getting back into the groove of it. The next week, you'll be a little heavier, a little heavier, a little heavier. And very often, within a few weeks, you'll then be able to surpass your previous best and then eventually hit a new plateau, like a higher level plateau, and then go through the whole cycle again. So like, instead of always doing the same exercise over and over again, beating your head against the wall, like, oh, can't increase my bench press, can't increase my bench press. Like, once you've gone a week or two and no progress, stop. Do another exercise variation instead. And I mean, that's a very powerful strategy, and it works really well. And that applies for all your major lifts, right? Change up the exercise variation instead of just beating your head against the wall, doing the same one over and over again. All right, we have Kane6676. I'm following your full day of eating, working good so far. Awesome. Glad you're enjoying it, and hopefully you're seeing some good results. Keep me posted with how it works. We've got Keith saying, I've been following you for a while now. I've had both hips replaced, but fell into a lazy place. I'm 19 pounds over and need some motivation. Please help. I'm 48. Well, Keith, you sound like you'd be a good candidate for the Muscle After 40 blueprint, because you're over 40. You've let yourself go and you need to get back in shape. So I would recommend downloading that free ebook that I have. It's in the description below. So just pop open the description of this video. It's Ripped After 40. Download that. Like that's a great place to start, right? It'll explain the whole the differences between the all or nothing extreme, going on a diet, cutting, suffering it out approach to getting in shape versus a sustainable, maintainable lifestyle approach to getting in shape. And it's like chalk and cheese, but I'm telling you, the sustainable lifestyle approach, this good enough, but good enough consistently approach, it's so much easier and so much more sustainable and so much more enjoyable, right? That's the kicker here. So again, download that ebook, Ripped After 40, which is in the description below, and that'll be a great place to get started. We have Dog C joining us. How many times should I drink protein powder and how many grams if I eat 6 times a day? That depends. I don't drink any protein powder or protein shakes. I mean, I like I mentioned earlier in one of our questions previously, if I'm using protein powder, it's part of some sort of recipe, whether it's like a high protein blender ice cream smoothie that I make, whether it's high protein oatmeal, high protein pancakes. Another one that I made recently was high protein oatmeal cookies, and they were freaking good. But I usually use my protein powder in recipes, but how much protein powder you take depends on, one, your protein intake needs and how much protein you're getting from food. So assuming we're going to stick with the general rule of thumb of 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and for simplicity's sake, let's just say you weigh 200 pounds and you want to consume 200 grams of protein per day, which, you know, you could argue back and forth, well, you don't need to have 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, but it's a good general rule of thumb, right? In reality, if we're want to get nitpicky, I recommend 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight per day. But if you want to err on the side of a little more, there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, getting back to the question, let's assume your protein intake is at 200 grams. How much protein are you getting from solid food? And then you want to make up the rest through protein shakes or protein powder. So if you're eating like 150 grams of solid food protein, then you will consume 50 grams of protein. Shit, I'm burping and talking at the same time here. If you eat 150 grams of protein from food and you want to get 200 grams, well, then you make up the other 50 grams from protein powder, right? Now, maybe you're extra busy someday and you only get to eat 100 grams of protein from food. Well, maybe you make up the extra 100 grams then from protein powder. Like, you use the protein powder as a supplement. That's what it is. Like, you can just use it as kind of like a way to top up your protein intake. And you can also look into other things as well. Like, you can have protein bars, like some really good ones, like the Built Bar. I've recommended those on my channel before. Those are really good ones because they're high in protein, low in sugar. The Quest bars are another good one, right? They're high in protein, low in sugar, you know, good bars. Like, when you're looking for protein bars, read the label, because most of them, especially the cheaper ones, they're not really protein bars. They're actually sugar bars with a little bit of protein added in. Like, if there's more sugar than protein, then it should be called a sugar bar, not a protein bar. But if there's more protein than sugar, well, then it's a protein bar. So look for a real protein bar. That's another great way to bump up your protein, and super convenient because, I mean, you can, you know, pack protein bars in your laptop bag, in your gym bag, you know, and keep them in the glove box of your car. Like, you can have them with you wherever you go, and super convenient for snacks on the run. I mean, that's what I do. I always keep some protein bars with me wherever I go, so I'm not resorting to fast food and junk food when I'm out around running errands and things like that. But yeah, that's how you would go about it. You would just make sure that you're consuming your total grams of protein per day, and the amount of protein powder you would use would really depend on the total that you need. So, and if you eat a lot of food protein and you cover all your protein needs through solid food, then you wouldn't need any protein powder that day. And that's the way I do it. Like, I don't consume protein powder every single day. It really depends on how much solid food protein I get and whether I need it or not. Just like the greens powder, same thing. Like, if I'm getting solid food protein and solid food veggies with every meal, then I don't need supplemental protein and supplemental veggies. But if I'm extra busy and I don't get the solid food, then I'll supplement it instead. All right. AT is saying, as you said, strength comes first. I've been consistently training for 18 months. I've got my newbie gains and then muscle growth relatively stopped, but strength is still going up. You gave me a satisfying answer. Oh, well, at least it was satisfying. The bottom line, 18 months. I mean, like, I tip my hat. If I had a hat, I'll tip my virtual hat to you. I mean, 18 months of training, that's respectable. Like, most people, hey, can't stick to the gym for 18 days, let alone 18 months. But to build a big muscular physique, it's going to take years. And look at everybody you are admiring and look at how long they've been training. Like, even a lot of the young guys, like, you go on Instagram and a lot of the young YouTubers, you know, even the guys who are in their mid-20s and something, they've been training for 5 or 10 years, even the young guys, because they probably started in their early teens. And then by the time they're in their mid-20s, they've got a decade of training under their belt, right? Like, nobody's going to go from, you know, newbie to jacked in the matter of a few weeks or a few months or a year or even a couple of years. Like, it's going to take time. Most of the people who you're admiring, like, look at their background. Like, how long have they been actually doing this for? And chances are it's been a long time. I would be willing to bet, like, anybody who looks like a bodybuilder and, like, you look at him and you're like, holy shit, that guy's in shape. I bet it's 10 years of training under his belt. I'd be willing to bet. In a few exceptions, it might be less, like, the, you know, the genetic freaks out there. But on average, most people who you look at and you're like, damn, that guy's in shape, you know, and you look at him with respect, there's a decade of training gone into that, right? It's not something that just happened in a few months or even a few years, right? It takes time, right? It takes a lot longer to build muscle than it does to lose body fat. All right, moving on. We have J.E. Lee. When using a trap bar for overhead pressing, should I stop when my arms are at shoulder level or should I go below? I actually don't use a trap bar for overhead pressing, so I'm not the best person to answer that question. But should I stop when my arms are at shoulder level or should I go below? It really depends on your individual flexibility and range of motion. If you go too low, like, okay, because with the trap bar, for those of you who don't know, it's like a hexagon bar, and like your body is in the middle of the bar versus like a barbell where, you know, anyway, look it up. If you don't know what a trap bar is, Google it. So you're in the trap bar, you have a lot more range of motion. So like with a barbell, if I'm doing a shoulder press with a barbell, I'm stopping here because the barbell's hitting my chest, shoulder area, right? I can't go any lower than that. But with a trap bar, I could technically, if I was super flexible, I could actually go a bit lower. But I wouldn't recommend it. Like, kind of stop around shoulder level, because if you go too low, then you risk like overstretching the joints, tendons, and ligaments, and you might actually pull or strain something. So like, listen to your body in terms of that. Like, don't overstretch yourself. And this applies with like bench presses or flies or shoulder presses and stuff like that. They don't go to the extreme ranges of motion. Like, stop around that shoulder level. That would be good. Like, same like with a bench press, stop around that chest level. Like if you were using a cambered bar, or if you were using dumbbells and like you could actually sink like lower than your chest, I wouldn't recommend it because it overstretches the joints, tendons, and ligaments and increases the risk of injury. Like, the risk to reward ratio when you go to those extreme ranges of motion is not in your favor. So keep it more in that mid-range, because it is a mid-range exercise. So you'll be safer and less risk of injury if you keep it within that mid-range. So don't go super deep with your shoulder presses. But I've never ever used a trap bar for overhead presses. I've always used dumbbells or barbells or machines. I could try the trap bar. We've got a trap bar at the gym that I train at, but I've never ever used it before for shoulder presses, that is. All right. Back to Lee Dunnigan, the man who doesn't drink coffee. He says, not only have I never tasted coffee, I tried a cup of tea about 35 years ago and never tried it since. Water and protein shakes for me. Wow. I'm in shock. So not only is he not drinking tea, he's not, nor coffee, not tea either. He just water and protein shakes. Well, what's your source of caffeine? You must have energy drinks or pre-workout or something. Like, very few people this day and age don't have some sources of caffeine in their regimen somewhere, some shape, some form. I bet there's a caffeine source of somewhere, you know, a pre-workout or an energy drink or something, or a caffeine pill. Very few people are not caffeinated these days, right? You get caffeinated and motivated. Now, that's a double-edged sword. Like, caffeine in moderation has some benefits, but it's easy to go too much. And I've been on both sides of the spectrum. But wow, I'm impressed. I don't know if I'm impressed or shocked or what. I just, very few people go without coffee or tea. Anybody else go without coffee or tea? Let me know. Okay. You're in the minority if you are. Moving on. What else we got? John Y.I. Lee, could you offer some mental wellness advice? Currently feeling overwhelmed and burnt out as of late, and was curious to know if you've bounced back from low moments. That's a deep question, and I really don't want to get into that because I'm not, a mental wellness person. I mean, I try to be a health and fitness person, which does include some mental wellness, but I don't know really what you're going through. You know what, Mr. John Y, if you want, feel free to message me, and we can chat about it, because that's a loaded question, and if I start talking, I could be going down the wrong road. I really don't know what you're going through or what you're feeling you need some help with. Whether it's is it feeling low because of your physical, because we have that mind body connection. So I mean, if your body feels like shit, your brain feels like shit too, or you feel like shit about your body. So, I mean, that could be part of it, or maybe there could be some other mental issues. So, I mean, feel free to message me privately. I give you permission to contact me, and I have my email or my Facebook down below if you want to reach out to me, and we can have a chat. And if I feel I can help you, I'll let you know. And if not, then I'll try and point in the right direction to somebody who can. But I'm not going to dive into that because I don't feel qualified at the moment. All right, we got a weird name here, Mr. Hard. He says, I have severe back pains, so it really hurts to work out my legs. As a result, I have chicken legs. What do I do? I would recommend, if you can't do squats or deadlifts because of your back pain, then focus on leg machines and some body weight exercises. There's probably a way you can work around the pain. I mean, and if it's really severe back pain, then maybe you should go deal with the direct root of the cause and look into the medical supervision, whether you're a doctor or chiropractor or someone, to get the back pain looked at. That would probably be the best solution. If you have severe back pain, figure out why you have back pain and try and fix that first, because getting your back pain fixed is more important than building big legs. You want to fix the weak links first, get that taken care of, and then you can always focus on working around the legs. But as far as that, anytime you have aches, pains, or mobility issues and you can't do certain exercises, then just find ways around it. So if squats hurt, then try leg presses. If leg presses hurt, then try leg extensions or leg curls, or there's probably something that you can do that's going to allow you to work the muscle without causing pain or aggravation. And if there's not, then you've got other issues that need to be dealt with first. But don't get hung up on the exercise. This is sometimes I hear people say, well, I hate squats, or I can't squat, or I hate deadlifts and I can't deadlift, or whatever. You don't have to squat. You don't have to deadlift. There's we live in a day and age where you go into any, proper gym and you have dozens of exercises that you can choose from. You don't have to do the ones that hurt and cause pain. There's probably something that you can do to still work those muscles without causing pain and aggravation. What else we got? I'm going to clue it up soon, guys, because, well, one, I've been talking for over an hour and my coffee is getting pretty low. So I will clue it up. There's a couple more questions there. I'm just going to run through them. John is saying, do deadlifts cause hernia? I haven't done them since my repair. Well, it's not directly causes hernia, but just if you have any you strain in general and could cause a hernia. I actually wrote a blog post about hernias, what causes them, how to prevent them, all that stuff. Just do a search on Google. If you do a search for Lee Hayward hernia, you should find it, or Lee Hayward hernia blog post, something along those lines. Do a search like that on Google, or go to my website and search for it. You'll find it. But I wrote a blog post about this a few years back that goes into detail about hernias and some strategies that you can use to prevent them from happening. But no, you in and of itself, weight training, it does not cause a hernia in and of itself. As long as you're doing it properly, you're lifting within your means, you're breathing properly, and you don't have any pre-existing issues, then I've lifted weights for over 30 years and I've never had a hernia. So it's not hey, if you lift weights, you're going to get a hernia. It's deeper than that. In fact, most people who have hernias are not lifting weights, right? It's caused from other issues. All right, moving on. We have Dog C saying, thanks for the help. You're welcome, my friend. Glad to help. We have Vince Jackson saying, I know you've talked about this, but since you are live, why should a bodybuilder pick full body workouts over split routines? You don't have to. You can do both. But the way I do it, I generally err on the side of full body workouts these days because I'm not in the gym as often as I used to be when I was a bodybuilder. When I was in my bodybuilding bro days and doing the bodybuilding bro split, is because I never had kids. I wasn't married. I had more time and I could go to the gym 6 days a week. And if you're in the gym 6 days a week, then you can do a chest day and then a back day and then a leg day and then a shoulder day and then an arm day and then blah, 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 and all that. Now I get to the gym probably 3 days a week on a good week. There's some days that's not, some weeks it's not 3 days a week. It might only be a couple. So when you're only getting to the gym 2 or 3 times a week, you want to be efficient and make sure you're getting everything done. So that's why I like to do the full body workouts. So even if I only get to the gym a couple times, I'm still getting all my major muscle groups hit a couple times with those workouts. Now, again, it's not the full-on 20 sets per body part blast and type of thing, but I'm still stimulating all my major muscle groups frequently. Whereas if I was doing the bodybuilding bro split, let's say day 1 chest, day 2 back, and I only got to the gym twice that week. Well, I went a full week and all I hit was chest and back. I didn't hit my shoulders, didn't hit my legs, didn't hit my, right? I neglected a lot of body parts because I doing the bro split 1 body part per day thing. So that's why I like the full body workouts. And the way I look at it is, if you know you're not going to be in the gym 6 days a week, right? You just know that because of your schedule, your lifestyle, or you're lazy or whatever, then full body workouts are ideal for those situations. But if you're the type of person who, man, I'm in the gym every day, rain or shine, no matter what, because you love it and you got the schedule and the time to do it, then yeah, you can do a full body workout or a body part split workout and make it work, right? So it's not that one is right, wrong, good or bad. It's just like what's better for you and your situation and your schedule. And the bottom line is anything you do consistently is better than nothing. Like if you do something consistently, that's better than doing nothing consistently. So you can make it work with both, but for people who are on tight schedules and are not getting to the gym every day, the full body workouts tend to be more practical. And practical is good sometimes. In fact, practical is good a lot of the times. Most effective way to build traps aside from doing deadlifts. Shrugs, farmer's walks, face pulls. There's a lot of trap exercises. Yeah, even just general back work, when you're doing all your different rowing exercises, you're hitting your traps. Farmer's walks is one that I really like. I like doing farmer's walks because it's a good overall functional exercise. I mean, not only working your traps, but it's like a total body functional movement. I really like those. Of course, shrugs are one of the best trap exercises you can do. And there's lots of different shrug variations, from barbell shrugs to dumbbell shrugs, and, various machine exercise variations that you can do. Like a lot of times if you have like a chest press or bench press machine, sometimes you can even do the machine variations of shrugs. But that's another one. Rack pulls, like there's a ton of exercises you can do for traps. Like the cool thing about this, you're on YouTube. So when I'm finished this chat, just start searching like trap workouts, trap exercises, and you will get a gazillion videos showing stuff that you can do for your traps. What else we got there? Michael's saying, I'm 52 years old. Can I still look like a 20-year-old or am I too old? Well, honestly, no, you're not going to look 20, right? Like I guarantee you, no matter what you do, even if you went and got the whole plastic surgery thing, like chances are people are going to know, hey, this guy doesn't look 20 anymore. But can you build a healthy body, get in shape at 50 or 52? Absolutely. In fact, I was just having a chat today with one of my personal coaching students who's part of the Muscle After 40 Blueprint, Mike Brown. He's 57 years old. Just started working out a couple years ago. So he started in his 50s, and he's not an athlete by background or nature. Like he's retired and he's overweight, out of shape, and like no physical activity in his background, childhood, youth, and got himself just fat and out of shape, right? Like the typical average American man these days, unfortunately, became fat and out of shape and decided, you know what, I'm going to do something about it. So he decided to start working out in his 50s. And now at 57, he's in the best shape of his life. He's got visible abdominal definition, and he's got a damn good physique for 57. Now, he still looks like he's in his 50s. I mean, like he doesn't have this, youthful skin and glow of a 20-year-old, right? I mean, he's not going to get ID'd when he tries to go into a club, right? He still looks like he's in his 50s, but he's got a damn good physique for someone in his 50s, right? Lean, athletic, strong, visible abdominal definition, right? I mean, he's in shape. So, I mean, is it possible? Absolutely. But, you're not going to get ID'd. They're not going to mistake you for a 20-year-old, even if you get back in shape. All right, moving on. What else we got there? Mike says, I have a total gym. Will that work instead of going to the gym? You know what? It'll certainly get you started. You can make really good progress with minimal equipment as long as you're focusing on consistency. I mean, I tell you, one of my recent Muscle After 40 success stories, I actually did a video with him. You can do search Steve Patterson. We got a video together up on the main Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. He, through the whole COVID lockdown, was working out at home with a Bowflex and a treadmill. That's all he had, a Bowflex and a treadmill. And he ended up losing 101 pounds in 1 year. From October 2020 to October 2021, 1 year, he ended up losing 101 pounds. He went from 260 and change, 260 point something, to 159 pounds in 1 year. And he did that working out from home without going to the extremes, like no fancy equipment, a Bowflex and a treadmill, and just following the sound nutrition plan that we have within the Muscle After 40 blueprint. And I mean, made a life-changing transformation. So yeah, it can certainly be done. All right, back to Mr. Lee Dunnigan. He says, I had no energy drinks, and very rarely do I take pre-workouts. Heavy rock music while lifting is enough of a buzz for me. Wow. You never cease to amaze me. So you have no artificial energy other than rock music. I got to start listening to what he's listening to. For big traps, what do you suggest? Heavy shrugs or light shrugs, but a lot of them. Both. There's pros and cons. Well, not necessarily cons. There's advantages to both. When you're doing the heavy low rep training, you're stimulating more of the fast twitch muscle fibers, and you're providing that type of training stimulation. Then when you're doing the higher rep training, you're getting into more of the lactic acid, more time under tension, and there's benefits to that. So I recommend both. Like with my training, I will cycle through phases of high reps, phases of low reps, phases of medium reps. Like there's benefits to all of them. And ideally, when you cycle through different rep ranges, you'll get the best muscular development overall. So it's not an either or, it's an and, right? So it's not heavy or light, it's heavy and light and medium. Like you want to incorporate it all in there. All right, I'm at the end of the questions, and I'm going to clue it up before more come in. All right, thanks for tuning in, gentlemen, and I'm assuming it's mostly gentlemen watching this. I look at my YouTube stats, and there's like over 90% guys, so I'm calling you gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in, and hopefully you enjoyed the video chat. I enjoyed doing it for you, and I will be back again next week, same time, same place, with another live video chat. In the meantime, if you have any questions or you would like to reach out to me or to clarify anything that we were talking about here, feel free to email me. Again, my email address is down below, and I also have my Facebook link there. So if you're on Facebook, friend me up over on Facebook. I'll be honest, I'm more active on Facebook because it's like a two-way conversation, whereas YouTube's more of a one-way conversation. So friend me up on Facebook if you're on Facebook, and we'll have a chat over there. And if you want to download the Ripped After 40 ebook, it's a free download. We've been chatting about it throughout the chat here today. It's available down in the link below as well. So open up that video description and start clicking on some of those links. And in the meantime, have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I will talk to you next week. Take care. Over and out.